We're experiencing people who are waking up spiritually, and it's important for there to be leaders there who are responsible with it.
Yes, there's a lot of people waking up. It's almost like it's being forced, like people are not ready for it, so I'm trying to help influence as many people to be their greatest selves, because then they're going to help others. It's the whole point. We got to have those people out there that are helping the ones that are all waking up. I'm the role of a shaman, but I'm also a hot mess fell apart who just cried 20 minutes ago. Like you need to see the genuine person. So you just you got to be open, but you also got to be smart. Do your research, see if anybody else has had experience with the spiritual person that you're going to. And there's no harm in meeting with them one time. And trust your gut, if you feel like this just isn't going to work, doesn't really resonate, same way as you make friends with people. You think you're going to have a friendship, you're going to have a relationship, cool. If you don't feel it's going to be good, kindly say goodbye, and that's it. You don't have to cause any problems with it.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is it must be like our 5th, 6th, maybe 7th episode of the Uzlaga Saga podcast. So we've gone through and we've spoken to just about everybody and had our kind of little introduction for each of the cast here. And today we have a good friend, the one that I've known the longest and the one that has helped me a lot with a lot of spiritual things. And she is super knowledgeable about everything spirituality, and looking forward to share her experience with you all today. So thank you for coming on, Crow. And how is it there and where you are today?
I'm doing good. That was a lovely, heartfelt intro. I really love that. I needed some of that love. Doing good, doing all right.
And how's the weather with everybody now before we get started? I'm curious.
Insane. It can't decide what season it wants to be here, at least.
There too. It's the exact same here in Denver, here on the East Coast. Snow, probably nobody. Nathaniel probably has some snow, right?
Yeah, we've gotten a little bit here, of course. Yeah, it's the way that it is. Some years we get a lot, some years we get none. It just depends on whatever Mother Nature wants to do here.
Yeah.
You're at her mercy.
And almost at the solstice too. So maybe we could touch on that today a little bit. Solstice traditions, but I guess we start off first of all by, this is a long story. I know I've heard this from you before as well, Crow, but we'll start off with that. Then, how exactly did you get into the spiritual stuff, the pagan stuff, and then the Norse stuff? How at that point did turn into that in your life?
Yeah, that is definitely a very long story. I will try to summarize as best possible here. But my spiritual practice really started actually through a friend of mine. He just inspired that there's a little bit more. I grew up in a Catholic household and stuff like that. And it's not like things really went wrong. It just wasn't for me. Just didn't feel like, it aligned. And my grandmother, super, super religious. So she was like really forcing us to go. So I think that also didn't help. But I was about 14 or so. And one of my friends, he introduced me to those fun things that you did, like being growing up in the 80s and 90s. You had like the witchy books, like the Silver Raven Wolf and like all that kind of stuff. And he got a bunch of the books and everything because he was very pagan and nature based with his spirituality to begin with. And he's like, I think you're going to love all of this. So we started doing all the things and doing all the candles and, moon stuff and just learning. And it just, I guess that was my diving point. It just kind of started me off to that there's more out there. I've always felt like there's more out there in other spiritual practice. So my story kind of going forward with that is I explored many different types of practices, many different religions, trying to find the thing that fit for me. Some of it is very witchy and woo-woo and out there, and things have served the exact purpose I needed it to serve. And I've taken each bit of those lessons from things that I've learned and gone forward with it. So I've done everything from tarot and runes to astrology to kind of diving into bits of almost like anthropology, studying cultures, studying religions, all that stuff. Because like I said, I have this thirst for knowledge. I want to learn more. I want to learn more. I want to learn more. So I'd say maybe about, how many years has it been now? I think we're on about 7 years now. I actually, about 7 years ago, I got into this really spiritual type of thing with a friend. We were teaching online courses and stuff like that. And that went an interesting route. But I met a ton of really awesome people. I learned energy work, energy medicine. I learned deeper things into paganism. I learned more into nature-based practices. Through this, because it inspired me to kind of explore more communities and stuff like that on Staten Island where I grew up. As you can, obviously, all of those of you out here have heard my voice already, but you can hear them from New York. It inspired me to actually walk into Zen Village one day, which was my mentor's company, him and his wife, that was the shop named Zen Village, but the company is Sacred Temple Wellness. And I actually own that company now. It was handed down to me, but I'm skipping ahead. So it inspired me to walk into that shop one day to actually take a chakra class. They had somebody there teaching different chakra alignments and how it aligns with Kundalini yoga and all that other kind of stuff. And I met my shamanic mentor and his wife there. And that's where my life really took a turn, where it really started diving into things because I got to know them. I got to know a lot of the practices. And he kind of took me under his wing as far as shamanism goes. So also during that time, in that group, that company I used to work for, I also met somebody I consider a sister. Her name is Amanda, and she's the one who actually turned me on to all the Norse stuff. She was like, I see, like, me and her you were talking a lot and all that stuff, and her husband are very, very big into everything Norse paganism, absolutely everything huge. And she was like, you come to the dark side, come to our world. Like, you're going to absolutely love it. And I did. I fell in love, so much aligned. And it was interesting because it's like, there's not a lot of information. Like, so much stuff is, reconstructed, and we're trying to get more information and more information, putting it together. But it just clicked. I don't know what to say. It's like basically the thing that helped me put all the puzzle pieces together. It was like the glue that held it all in. It turned me on to understanding animism because it was like something I couldn't quite grasp. It made everything click in the fact that all of my spiritual practices, all of the things that I kind of collected information on, had that one key component, and that was animism. That was nature. That was the pieces I took from each practice that I explored. And it was through Norse, through the Poetic Edda. She told me to start there. She's like, that's where you go. Read the stories. I want to see what you get from the stories. That's literally how she started me. She's like, read the stories. Tell me what you think. It was a great diving point. But it really, through those stories, and that's also how I learned. Through those stories, it really helped me understand. It made that nature base and that symbolism of things, of understanding that Thor is life force, like things like that, what they represent. Odin is that frenzy, is that trance, like all those things. I learned a lot finding Thor's channel. I found Thor's channel because of Amanda. Like, it just, one thing just led to the other. And while my shamanic studies were continuing and all that stuff and getting very aligned with all the Norse stuff, I don't know, it really just, I have no words how it just formed everything together, how well it all aligned. And then my mentor, when I was, I guess you could say, officially ordained as a shaman, you don't really, like, you grow into the role. You don't just have somebody come over and be like, all right, you're a shaman. Like, it doesn't work that way. But when I hit kind of like that point to where we did like a ceremony celebrating the years past that I've been through, that, I can be a shaman, I can help people, I can do these things. He gave me a different name for my shamanic role, and that was Mystical Crow, because crows collect shiny things. And my spiritual path is made up of all my shiny things that I've collected, which is my nature-based, animistic, perspective of spirituality. So I think that sums it up. So I'm open for questions for all the in between points.
That was my question. You covered it. I was going to ask how you got into the Norse stuff. I was wondering about one specific thing, and you guys can all chime in here. Tell me if I'm wrong. Most people, me included, by the way, even though it took a lot longer, most people will get into the Norse stuff and they'll think, "Oh, Norse mythology, cool, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm a Norse pagan," maybe even they get into it, but they can't really get it to click, like you said. So I always see people finally get it to click when they start researching other types of animism, paganism types from around the world, and then it makes a whole lot of sense. So you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know if that happened with all of you as well, but with Christina, it seems like it went the opposite way. Like you already had that knowledge. You already understood animism. You understood primitive religions. So the Norse kind of clicked immediately the first day you opened it, whereas the rest of it might have taken us years.
I would say really quickly, because I just heard something about this today, and it was actually kind of a question I was going to ask you too. That individual that I'm studying, that I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about a lot, he was describing people who dive into multiple different spiritualities, right, or different ways of connecting with nature and animism and all that. He said, a chef doesn't become a really good chef because he makes the same meal over and over and over again. He makes a lot of different meals from a lot of different cultures. And I thought that was a pretty interesting way to describe it.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Yeah, I think because, again, I'm an open book. So whenever I read things or I'm exploring something, I want all that knowledge. I want to, I'll read a story. It's really hard to explain how my brain works, but I'll read something and then all the other knowledge that I have is also going to filter through that story kind of. So I see things from almost a million different perspectives and then have to actually formulate that into thought and words, which that's where I stumble a little bit. But I think the Norse stuff, I think it was honestly a matter of timing that helped it click right away. Because at that time, again, opening up the world to shamanism, meeting, energy healers, and Reiki is actually where I actually started off with understanding how energy flow works. Through my mentor, getting to then take classes and meet with Alberto Veloto and his wife of the Four Wind Society, my mentor's mentor, Peter Whitefeather Redheart, who has also taught me, Robert Thurman of Tibetan House USA. I've also is a teacher of mine. I have this laundry list of people that help give me all of these different perspectives. So at that time, once the Norse stuff hit, it's almost like it just resonates with me. So it made it more palatable. It I don't know, like I said, it made the pieces fit. It almost made it was wait a minute, these are where all the connections are found. It's so hard to explain. I wish I could have doing a better job at this and put more words into it. But I think honestly, really, it was a matter of timing. Just like that saying that Rodos just said, it was, you got to explore all different recipes to become a good chef on that. So that's the best way I can answer that. That, and I think because the Norse stories are like no other. They really are. They're so theatrical. I don't know. And I love that. I'm all into the drama. They're just outlandish. I will never forget the first time I read the story on how Sleipnir was made. The funniest thing ever to me. I'm sorry. And I think that just personally just clicked with my squirrel brain here. So I hope I answered your question.
To answer Thor's question, it's besides the Arthurian tradition, which I just started studying a couple months ago, the Nordic one is the newest one for me. And I've been studying it for a couple years now, of course, because of my background. And this is not my episode, so I'll be very brief about this. I came from a living tradition of Vedic/Hinduism. So it made it so that way I didn't even go through the 3 stages that you talk about, Thor, and whatnot. I was initiated directly into the deeper layers as a child for some of these things even, and in their meaning and whatnot. And so it made it so that way every tradition that I've gone through is just built upon that living understanding that I've had since that time period. And so coming to the Nordic one, it was oh yeah, got it. Thanks. This is just helping to fill in even more gaps, so to speak, for what it is, and chisel out some of those edges more and whatnot and get the details and that kind of thing with it. But I know for most people, this is not the case for it. My interpretation of things, my way of doing things is very similar to Crow's in terms of how I interpret the stories. Like it's at the same time as I'm reading them, basically. So with everything else that I've encountered.
Yeah, sure. I think it's definitely you two came in to the Norse spirituality the opposite way. And that's quite rare, actually. But we have two people here, at least, that did it that way. But yeah, I think that would there is definitely some people out there like that. Some of our viewers, but yeah, I think for certain most people got into it Norse first, and eventually, if they haven't yet already, they'll start to connect the dots with other sources and other beliefs like that. What's another question about? I'll let someone else can ask a question for Crow.
If I may, I'd like to say like that click point that you talk about for Crow actually coming to the realization of this thing with her background of knowing many other things spiritual in the past. That also was something that kind of resonates with me. So I guess I can sympathize with you or understand from where you're coming from when you say, you know, a friend of yours put you onto this path and you've seen these things and then you go, you know what, that's the missing puzzle piece. That's the one that kind of connects the dots, we'll say. No, yeah, I 100% understand and agree with you on that sort of thing. Mine's a little different. We'll have our own time to speak on that, I'm sure. But a question that I had for you was, say, on this path of yours, you've come across many different spiritualities. You've come across many different teachers. What would you say is one thing that kind of holds true throughout those different variations?
So you mean like a common denominator in that aspect, or?
Yeah, I would say that's probably best.
So it's a tough one. It really is that I think the common denominator, and it took the, so far the thing that I align with the most, that I have the most knowledge on, is the Peruvian medicine, is the Pacos, especially learning directly from the Apaza family themselves right now. But it's that understanding of that it's not about the self. It really is that meaning of like actually knowing what it means to remove yourself from the equation, to understand that the path of deep spirituality and the path of a shaman is roles that you need to play for the people that you come across, the people that come to you. It's not like a role like, like a play or like a theater or something of that sort. It's a role in that you need to mold yourself into being exactly what they need to be at that time to help them through. And it's not just about helping people. It's a lot of the common denominator is what's for the greater good of the energy flow of the earth itself. So it's me taking on a client. They come to me taking on a client. I have to judge. Like, I'm not supposed to turn anybody away, but I might have to redirect somebody if I'm not the right fit for them. And it doesn't mean that that's a problem with my power. It's a problem with, we just don't align. But I have to take into account that this is not for me. This is not showing off. So how am I helping this person? Okay, if I'm going to help this person, are they going to help somebody else? Are they going to cause a ripple effect? Will that ripple effect affect many people? And in fact, if it affects many people, is it going to affect the greater being of the earth, of understanding that energy, being part of that energy? Is it going to reconnect people? Is it going to help people remember the types of spiritualities we used to have? Because people are so disconnected from their spiritual self that they're just in the ego self. They're just in the physical self. A lot of that has that common denominator. Are you helping that greater good? And you also need to understand that when you are that role for somebody, that, I'm a friend for one, I'm a mom for another, I'm a villain for a person as well. You have to be accepting of the fact that like somebody's going to really hate you, but you've influenced their life for them to do something about it. And you have to be okay with that. So out of all of the teachings, I guess that is one common denominator, is understanding that taking this on is a responsibility. It is a role. It is an honor. It is wonderful. I
Beautifully
think
said.
cool.
Beautifully said. So if I could kind of sum that up, then you'd say a commonality that branches across the spiritualities that you've been a part of, or at least witnessed to, the selfless service portion, the putting self second and then treating others before. Yeah, that's
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, it's and it's getting people to reconnect to their spiritual path. It's from a very shamanistic perspective. Obviously you can make it, probably somebody can probably make other physical comparisons. I know Nathaniel's probably got 5 million in his head right now. From at least the shamanic perspective, that's what it is. That seems to be every time I go along a path, it then hits kind of that crunch point to where it says like, okay, well, how much of you are you willing to let go of? How far are you willing to push? Like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place with becoming that role of a Paco, because they have given me tasks of, I need to teach people, as many people as I can, certain things, but I need to travel because I need to go connect with the land. I need to connect with as many sacred places. And it doesn't have to be just their sacred places. It has to be sacred places that I find sacred, that have characteristics of snake medicine, jaguar medicine, so on and so forth. I need to go to mountains. I need to go to oceans. I need to travel as much as possible to talk to the land, because that role of a Paco is saying like, hey, I know humanity has gotten so sketchy and so far disconnected from you, but we are still here and some of us are still listening. So we're coming back. We're trying to get people to come back. That is a hard thing for me to do right now, because it really feels like my soul's calling. Every time I'm in a class with them, I'm on the verge of tears, honestly, because like every time I learn something new, I just learned a whole bunch of things about soul retrieval that just blew my mind. I'm like, this is what I got to do in life. Anyway, it's a hard thing to travel all around the place because I'm a mom. I have a husband. I have 2 kids. I can't just grab my husband and be like, let's just go gallivanting all across the world. I have to be the role right now. I know that doesn't help either. I have to be the role right now of raising my children into being good functioning adults so I can continue this role. So it's a very hard pull. It's a very hard thing to deal with, but I have to be accepting of that. So
right. So again, it gets back into that sacrifice portion, not only just self-sacrifice, but the well-being of family, friends, personal lives. I know for sure, for one thing, my brothers and sisters in arms would definitely be able to understand that sacrifice portion of things, as well as the, service of others, as well as the, just finding oneself. So yeah, I like that.
yeah, and it's finding oneself through others, at least for me. Like that's what it is. When I see somebody that I take on as a client, or just anything, I help a friend, I help a loved one, it doesn't matter. I see them step into themselves. They have like that aha moment. And like then they go off and they just become the most glorious version of them. That's what I love. That's what gives me that power, that energy, and I don't want recognition for it. Like, yes, like Thor's intro there was very, very sweet, but also like I'm like, don't look at me. Like I know I help, but like no, it's still him. I was just the voice. He still did it all. He still had, he grew in himself. That transformation is what I love to see. Like I said, I don't want recognition for it. I just want to see somebody really align with their mind, body, and soul, their spiritual path, everything. That's what it is. I learned, and it took many years to figure that out. I can say it so easily now, but I learned that like that's it. That's my thing. It's seeing others grow. It's seeing others transform. And when they fail, I feel like I fail. It took so long to understand. It really did, but I can't help too. If they're not going to go take those, I can't help that. And that is something I also have to be accepting of. I was the voice. I was, as my friend Jillian named it, spirit speak, to where I'm, when I'm helping them and I go into trance state and I have no idea what I even said. That's why I record all my stuff when I'm with people. I was the conduit for that moment. And I'm okay with being just the conduit. So
Yeah. Sorry, was he still Nathaniel?
I was going to say, in Hinduism, there are 4 yogas, if you will, and these are ways to figure out your path forward and to help other people and whatnot, and to do what needs to be done with it. So There's jnana yoga, which is the yoga of the will and the intellect, which is clearly what my path is. That's not even a question for what it is, and the knowledge and that kind of thing. Then there's, Raja yoga. That's the yoga of meditation. Those are the people who, are always going out in the nature, doing things that particular way, meditating upon different things. They're the philosopher types and whatnot, so to speak, with it. They're the ones that are more the hermit aspect. It doesn't mean you can't play other roles with this too, that we're talking about the main one that everybody does, just to be clear on this particular front. Then there's bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion. That's like to the gods and various different things with it, the priest class or whatever. And then the last one, which is the one that, is the one you're describing, is called karma yoga. It's a yoga of action and selfless service. It resonates with those who are mostly community-based and of an outgoing nature and that kind of thing for what's going on. Again, all of them can be played at any point for what it is. We're talking about what the main one is for the particular individual and their particular vehicle that they go through in life. And it seems like that one's yours based upon what you're describing. So
Yeah, that definitely sounds right. What's kind of funny is actually when there's a huge, beautiful Hindu temple about 20 minutes from me. And I've gone there to visit it a number of times because it feels so wonderful. It's at peace and stuff. And they have those, they kind of walk you through when you go in through the temple, like stories and all that stuff. And the karmic ones are always the ones that I go to. So you definitely, you pin that one. You're good at that. You're good at pinning, at seeing things. And I'm like, I feel vulnerable.
Well, something you were talking about a minute ago in your work that you do, and one of the realizations I feel like I've come to recently is that good, honest ritual work isn't something that happens to you. I think maybe it's one of the misconceptions that people have with modern spirituality and those who are leaders and practitioners in it, is that in ritual, there is no spectator. Everyone is a part of it. So when it comes to doing the work that you do, things like that, a big part of it, I feel like, is what people bring to it themselves, how much they're willing to use their imagination to re-examine their situation and create change within themselves using the symbology and using the manipulation that you have over the space, the energy, the communication. And it requires everyone to be active within it, right? And I think a lot of people now think, I'm depressed, I'm going to go see a shaman because it's trendy and the shaman's going to fix me. And it's just like rehab. You have to check yourself into rehab. You have to go there willing to participate. So when the shaman gives you an herbal remedy to follow, or a sort of practice or a connection ritual that you learn from them and then take into your own world, you have to actually do it. So it's just, that's the thing. You're just there between. You're just making the between, and you're bringing them into the fold,
Yeah, exactly. It's on my website. I have like a saying and stuff written up there. It's like, I'm not going to rid your shadows, but I'm going to walk with you through them. I'm going to walk with you through the dark. But that is 100% true. I do get a lot of times people will want to come to me and stuff like that, see a shaman because it's trendy, it's different. And usually it comes out of desperation because I've tried everything else. And a lot of times at first people are expecting things that are theatrical, especially because, yes, like if somebody who comes to me recommends me from a friend, and they'll be like, oh, they heard all these things, because I'm unconventional sometimes. I guess I can do the traditional shamanic work, but the reason I was, accepted into the Peruvian and Native American and Norse communities and stuff as far as shamanism goes is because I bring in my genuine self. I'm not just rinsing and repeating the traditions. And I bring in aspects of all weird things. So like, yes, sometimes you'll come to me for a shaman. You're going to get tarot cards. You're going to get crystal skulls. You're going to get drums and rattles. You're going to get astrology. You're going to get past life stuff. You're going to get whatever thing I feel you need at that moment. But what I always start people off with, and it's not always, going to be theatrical and like I'm going to sit there with my hands and heal you. That's not how that works. I start people off with, how much water do you drink? What foods are you eating? And how much do you sleep? When was the last time you danced? That's how I start people. I want to know what you're putting in your body. Are you poisoning your body? Are you clouding your mind? I want them to eat better. I want them to sleep. You cannot process things unless you sleep the way your body should be sleeping. And everybody's sleep cycle is different. You know, you need to drink water. You need to eat well. You need to sleep. And I ask, when was the last time you danced? And that means in an aspect of, when are you doing things that you actually enjoy? That thing that lights your inner fire. I've had people come to me that want to quit smoking, quit addiction, all that kind of things like that. And again, the same way. And I actually had somebody who recently, she wanted to start this. She wanted to quit smoking and she didn't want to drink so much, better connect with her family. And I started her on exactly that. And she's like, no, I don't think this is for me. I've been through stuff like that. But she's eating like fast food. She's working all the time. And when she is home, she's just drinking wine and moving on. So that was that. That's how we started. Yes, it gets more theatrical. Yes, it gets more in depth, but I got to start to know you first. And in order to know you, you got to think clearly. And you got to put your wholehearted self into this. So you also have to be very open. You can't come to it thinking that I'm going to wave some magic spell and make you feel better. You have to be open. And if I'm not aligning with you, I'm perfectly fine with that. Again, that's coming with being open. Say that. Be like, hey, I don't think this is going to work, and that's fine. But I'm going to put you in a sauna. I'm going to make you cry. I'm going to make you take herbs. I'm going to make you do these things. I'm going to make you sit in my room doing weird shit with drums and rattles and all that stuff. You're going to feel all right afterwards, but you're going to hurt. And that's okay, because pain is part of being human. It's one of the privileges that we get to experience while being alive. I'm going to walk with you through that pain, but you got to put yourself there and leave yourself open to whatever spirits have in store for you, because that's essentially what's happening. I'm not doing these things. I'm a conduit for the spirits. You are like, I did a chumpy session. Chumpy stones are Peruvian medicine. It aligns with their medicine wheel, the animals, the sun, moon, stars, all that kind of stuff. And they're engraved on these little stones. It's only to be done for people who are, already spiritually open and stuff like that, because the idea is that you are, while putting and planting these stones, you are opening the body to allow these spiritual archetypes in. You close the body and then they work within you. And you have to be completely willing and open to hearing them while they're inside of you. I'm not doing that work. I'm just connecting whatever spirit that's either been trying to get in contact with you. And I don't mean spirits like necessarily ghost spirits in an animistic point, to where there's a spirit in everything, that everything sings at its own resonancy, like it has its own song. I'm just that conduit for that, to make that spiritual connection. It's up to you to have the open mind and do the work.
So you mentioned vulnerability here for yourself. When I said that, as well as for your clients and that kind of thing, for what was going on there. And I'm wondering if the reason why you didn't like feeling that feeling and whatnot is because you're not used to it. You're used to helping out other people and them not even bothering to try to look at you deeply, because they're so busy looking at themselves at a more deeper level.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right on that. I have been always, since I was little, service to others, always, to the point to where, I've wore my heart on my sleeve. It's been hurt badly. People have taken advantage of me because of my overwhelming need to help. It's also certain aspects of my childhood growing up that didn't play, that played a part in everything too. It's, I know, like trauma, shit like that. But it's also too because, nobody is, not many have taken the time to really take a look. And I see a lot of worth through others. And two, also, as much as I'm very talkative and I'm very open, I very much fall into that, I'm going into astrology and woo-woo stuff, that Scorpio aspect. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. And I will very easily know everything about you, but you won't know much about me. I keep a lot of it locked up. So when somebody is able to actually do that, to really see me, I don't know how to be, it's just very, very weird. There are a rare few in this world who actually really see me. And the ones who actually did, or like the ones who do, it happens like that. We don't need to know each other very long. I don't know what it is. That's the only common denominator I can make about that. So yeah, it does make me feel vulnerable because I do try to keep myself, private. I will share only what I feel I want to share. And that's if I really trust the person.
I would say, since it's similar for me, and this is just my analysis for myself and whatnot, and see if it resonates with you, that the short version is when you go to a level of depth in terms of your understanding of things and go to these subtler frequencies, let's say, and keep going and digging deeper to get to core truths, since the vast majority of humanity has no interest in digging that far down, that the reason why people can't understand you is not also because they're not just looking, but it's just because they can't. And then the ones that can, it's because they've already dug. They're doing the exact same thing that you're doing, or maybe not exactly, but similar vein and whatnot. And it makes it so that way that's the case for it. And so there's just a nod of understanding without anything else needing to be said.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense because I have trouble connecting with people on a regular level. Like, I'm not popular with the other moms at the kids' school. I mean, they sense it already. Like, they look at me and they're just like, and that's fine because I'd rather not.
They're threatened.
Apparently, my little 5 foot 90-something pound is threatening, apparently. So, but I can't with the mundane conversations. Like, I can be friendly, I can be nice. I'm actually really skilled at customer service because every job I've ever had has led me into customer service. I can pull that off, but it's a role I have to play. But I can't take the mundane conversations. The kind of things like, I don't know. I also have a lot of problems with women too. I have a very hard relationship with women. I only really open up and talk like this, like I'm talking now, like I talk with you guys here, because you're all spiritually inclined. You're all doing all your own things and making all those different connections and stuff like that. I can connect with each one of you on a different aspect. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It has to be somebody who's really diving into kind of that deeper understanding of spirituality for them to really resonate with me and to actually have that window of seeing me. So yeah, it makes sense.
Say you've actually hit quite a few different things. I don't know if we just, skimmed across it when it comes to, say, timing, when it comes to vulnerability, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to strength and other people's being afraid of you, we'll say, like, all of those things are intertwined when it comes to these things, regardless of your stature, size wise, like you as a being, you as a person, you as a spiritual entity, I guess you'd say, you might actually, I wouldn't say strike fear in them, but you might actually have a different aura, not to get too hippie about it, but a different way about yourself that has people kind of stand back. They don't want to interact with you so much because
it can be intimidating.
right. Yeah, but because you don't necessarily need their interaction. A lot of us humans today are so far removed from the old ways, we'll say, that we need that social boost. Hey, am I doing okay? Is this the right shirt? Am I in the right vehicle? Am I going the right 9 to 5? Fuck every bit of that. Like, you are happy in your skin, you're happy in your faith or spirituality, you're happy in who you are, and it actually projects on others. And for a lot of the time, people feel that. It doesn't resonate with them. It actually gives the opposite. And they kind of shy away from it because they are not ready at this time to meet someone like yourself. Now, if they allowed themselves to become vulnerable, allowed themselves to get on your level, or at least an even playing field, they might find that not only you and they, but they and many others have a similar way. And, we can change quite a few things. I think people like yourself need to be out there much more often. And sometimes you got to take that dive. Sometimes you got to be that person that, shows other that you can be strong just by being self.
Yeah, no, that's powerful what you just said. It definitely makes a lot of sense. It took a long time for me to gain that level of confidence as well, too, because there's a lot of criticism. And especially in the world out there today, I put myself out there. I put myself online. I'm obviously doing this, but it's going to come with a bunch of judgmental side effects. It's going to come with just YouTube alone. It's like the damn Wild West in the comments section. Like it's like, I know all of you, somebody's probably writing comments right now going, this woman's full of crap. And that's fine, because I'm clearly not what resonates with you. People make a lot of judgments, and that's what it is being okay with the judgments. People make a lot of judgments right off the bat. I've personally seen, actually, on an interview we did on Thor's channel with my mentor and myself, where somebody had problems with the things that my mentor was doing when Thor stated right at the beginning that he is Lakota by bloodline. But people were like, how could you do this or whatever? When somebody was writing, he was calling him like a New York Jew. It was so insulting. I'm like, what's wrong with Jews? Like, what's wrong with you people? Like, I don't understand. You 5 seconds in a video, you didn't even listen. But you got to be okay with that judgment when you're putting yourself out there. You gotta, you gotta. And it's funny. So, but that's a hard thing to accept. It's a hard thing to be like, well, why do I want to put myself out there? These people don't deserve it then. Well, again, that's going back to that selfless role. You can't you're going to feel it. You're going to hurt, but you can't let it bother you. Like, you can't. Like, I remember I was texting Thor, and I'm like, I can't believe people said this about Anthony. He's like, why did you read the comments? He's like, nobody read the comments. Why would you do that? I told you not to do that, but it was like, it hit, especially because this is somebody I really care about. This is a man who's really genuinely trying to make a difference in this world. And you got that. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to ever go online again, because he's like very much at that point to where he's like, all right, I know my role, but I'm also in my late 60s and I'm tired. And, I'm doing this in person. It's causing him to change lanes kind of. But anyway, yes. So, but I've gained my confidence over the years. I'm very comfortable in who I am. And I'm fine with portraying that aura, that energy, that thing. If somebody's interested and they want to come talk to me, that's fine. I get a lot of questions about my tattoos and all that other stuff, especially when you got anything Norse on you. People want to automatically know if you're a Nazi or some shit like that. But I love everything I do, and I'm okay if you're not all right with it. You just don't harm me or anybody I care about, and we're good. Or the New Yorker comes out. Then you got a problem.
Some people
Speaking maybe to the
egos are
opposite of
so.
that.
Oh, go ahead,
Go
Thor.
ahead. So I just would touching on that. Speaking just to the opposite of it, who are your best customers? We've spoken for a while now about people who are not that open-minded and maybe cause some troubles, but who are the best ones that you've worked with? Who are the most open-minded and the most receptive to any type of spirituality or any kind of healing treatment you want to give them?
So I have sat here and badmouth a little bit and stuff like that, because that is unfortunately the majority of kind of what you come across, and I'm okay with the people not being ready. But the best people, like, I actually have my company. I have an amazing group on Facebook of these people that they're all kind of the same way I was. They're all searching for something else, and they're open-minded. They're absolutely open-minded, and they find like their niche. They find the thing that works for them. And I've watched them flourish. I have one friend where she started out just doing some cards and doing a little bit of like paganism. She's very into all the Celtic things and stuff. I learned actually a lot about druidry through her, the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids that I'm in right now. She was the one who told me like, hey, there's this online program with druidry and all this stuff. But she started out really small, and then now she does Akashic record readings. Like, she just totally just found, once she found that Akashic records and that Lenormand thing and all that other kind of stuff, she just, boom, took off. Another woman who I took on, who previously had some issues with abuse and all this stuff in her past. She came again open-minded, trying to understand like, hey, there's got to be more to life. And then a whole new world opened up for her. She got married. She sees auras. She's doing thread readings for people. She calls it her own thing, her own kind of thing. I've seen people express it through art and all this stuff. And that common denominator is that willingness to to learn and to be open and finding that one little thing. And it's just great. people who are willing to talk, to just be a friend, or to be friendly with one another, to be kind. And kindness, there is strength, because kindness doesn't necessarily mean overextending yourself. Being kind is sometimes setting up a boundary and being strong and telling that person, no, I'm not going to let you do this, and I'm not going to be your conduit for it. That's, I guess, to answer your question, the best clients are really the ones that are just searching for more out there. They're ready to listen.
So there's no kind of, that's what I was getting at. There's no kind of background. There's no kind of specific religion they come from or ethnicity they come from, anything like that. It's just the people who are more open-minded and like to speak and share those types of things. And you can find that across all types of people, all labels if you want to call them that.
Yeah, I've helped people from all different denominations, all different religions, as long as they're willing to be a little more open. I was even talking with a Jehovah's Witness for the longest time. I mean, eventually it pushed a little too far for her. But yeah, it doesn't matter. You don't need some kind of prerequisite or something, as long as you're willing to have an open mindset. And it seems to be a lot of people too that are like, a lot of them will say to me, like, it's like they feel something else is out there. They feel something different. They don't just know what it is. They feel like it's in them, like they're trying to remember it. That's always a common thing that I have. That's why I always call it that I'm teaching you to remember who you are and your spiritual path is. I'm not teaching you to escalate to it, to elevate to it. You're not ascending towards anything. You're remembering, because we're all part of something bigger. We just call it a different story. We all have a different version of it. So
Play on that part. The shamans, one of their major roles of them, I'm using that as an umbrella term here,
yeah, shaman's very big.
anyway, is to literally take different things that are spread across and to remember them, not just in terms of remembering, but also to bring them together. And to do that, that's part of that soul retrieval stuff that you're talking about with.
Yeah. Just
So
delve
if
into
you're gonna
that.
play on the words there too, that you could be doing as well on that particular front in terms of the remembering part.
There's one thing I want to say to lend validity to the spiritual practices that we're all talking about here, and all the different methods that you're mentioning. We think about the shaman, the druid, the medicine woman, the spiritualist, the healer, the wizard, all these people who do this type of work. You know who believes in it more than anybody? Who's the biggest practitioner, the one that cares about it the most? Because let's think about it. What do these people all do? They tell you, take this. Let's harmonize with these frequencies, with these drums. Let's, do this thing, do that thing, right? They're giving you all this advice. This advertisers, marketing agencies, large ceremonies like at concerts. I mean, like the government, like all these people practice at this like global scale the work of a shaman, a wizard, a druid, any of these things, because what are they doing? They are tapping into the people who are looking for something, and they're creating music that harmonizes with them, and the music telling them which way to go. They are saying, here, take my supplement. It'll get you so ripped, dude. Like, take my supplement. And, and that's what's happening now, whether you want to believe it or not. The magic that actually exists here, this real natural healing work that can actually exist there, is being hijacked and has been hijacked by our global system. And so if you need some like reference to understand, like if you're skeptical or anything like that, look at the last time that you watched an ad and you felt the compulsion to buy something, right? Because it had what you needed. It was like, you really wanted, or you wanted to go see that music or that band, or you wanted to take this supplement because you think it's going to do this, do that. It's because the person's putting their imagination and their effort into that, right? And so when we start taking ourselves, the reason this work is so important is because it's bringing us back to community, back to nature. Whereas right now it's being hijacked and used to sell and create things. So it's like the magic and the work that shamans do is actively being corrupted and perverted and all this kind of stuff. And it's more real than people would ever want to admit.
And that's all we know about.
There's the
How many
dark
things are
sorcerers.
people doing in secret?
Yeah. What are you going to say, Drift?
I was going to say, if I may, the ritualistic synchronicity, I guess, that you find within marketing, whether that's, at a job, somebody's like, you got to buy from us on TV, or whether it's, I still remember certain things from the military that are word for word with a musical tone to them. You know, these ritualistic synchronicities, I guess you'd say, that help you kind of form masses. And I guess you might say manifest destiny for these groups of people with like-minded paths. Like, it doesn't have to be a spiritual thing. If you have 25 people or just 2 people that all have that same similar mindset in a direction, and you have that resonance amongst the 2 of them, it multiplies. So when you increase the numbers of said people, say an entire government, I would know a little bit about that, or whether it's a marketing campaign and it's blasted across the entire United States, like all of these different things, when you increase that and then you project that onto other people, you're also projecting that mental stasis, if that makes any sense. I just think that was a really wise way that I hadn't heard explained before.
Whatever he's getting at in terms of a more modern terminology that people are going to be okay with, it would be social engineering. The type of social engineering that's going on. Absolutely. And they are preying on people's hopes, desires, and fears.
Desperation.
Yeah, well, all that comes from the same stuff. Absolutely. Yeah, yes. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's always that, though. You know, yes, of course, like, buy this soap because you smell like an ox butt. You know, okay, cool. Everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to buy that soap because I want the girls, or whatever the case is, whatever the thing is. I've seen so many fucking ads with so many ridiculous hooks. Promote beard growth and you stab yourself in the face 1 billion times. Or a triple shave razor that vibrates, or whatever the case is. It's left or right when it comes to the polarity of these marketing campaigns that they do. But when it comes to things like that I'm personally familiar with, when it comes to, say, rallying the masses on a similar cause, regardless of the persons and the diverse backgrounds, when it comes to, we all stand up, we all swear to, we all do these certain ritualistic things that unifies us as a people, regardless of background, pigment, faiths, you know, all these different wild things that are supposed to be, I guess, differing things. I've said it before and I said it again, you know, we're all one type. Like, we're all one.
This is something that I think we can make an entire topic of its own, so to speak, at some point, and then go into a deep dive it there rather than hijacking.
Yes, no, I agree to that too as well. Let me pitch that right back to Crow. I apologize for that.
Don't worry about it. It's the way the conversation's flowing. No, I do get that, because you do also get, you know, I see that in people. You know, I see their struggles with that, things that they're trying to live up to by, you know, pretty much propaganda that they've been fed. So, you know, it's difficult. You know, and also too, people will come to me with an illusion of something that I'm built up already as a specific role for them. And then they get this. It's like, I'm sorry, it's not what you expected. Not really how the way it works. I mean, I'm not gonna fit their image. I'm not going to make myself that, because then I'm not genuine at that given point. So, no, I see where this was going. It's all good.
All I was saying was is support your local druid, support your local shaman, support your local healer, because you go here to get programmed, all right, and you go to their hut to get deprogrammed.
Yeah.
Now
Exactly.
you get reassimilated back into society through these people, because, you know, they just carry that force and that energy. And all I was saying was that it's like, if you're skeptical about what they do, look at how it's already being done to you and how much you play into it and how much it really just matters about your investment and your belief and how you place your imagination into it. Because you'll sit there and you'll get that guy who tells you, take my natural greens supplement, right? It's a synthetic blend of crap, right? It's got a vanilla flavor, but because you believe it's going to do it, right? But yeah, you could go to the shaman that grew that stuff right in their backyard, knows exactly what it's going to do. And this is what we're experiencing right now. We're experiencing people who are waking up spiritually, and it's important for there to be leaders there who are responsible with it.
Yes, because there's a lot of people waking up. It's almost like it's being forced, like people are not ready for it. You know, so I'm trying to help influence as many people to be their greatest selves, because then they're going to help others. It's the whole point. We got to have those people out there that are helping the ones that are all waking up. So
Here's a question I wanted to ask you, because I think you would have the best insight out of anyone, and I think a lot of people would want to know this who are watching, the fakers. Although I'm the biggest believer out there as well, I'm also the biggest skeptic because I've seen so many people in those types of professions like yours who are completely full of shit, and there's a lot of them. From your experience, you have the best insight of all of that. How do you spot a faker, whether that be a fake shaman or a fake guru or a fake, what do they call them? Like the palm readers and sidekicks, those types of things that you see in like corner house and driving down the street. How do you spot a good one from a bad one?
Well, that's a topic all on its own. So there are, unfortunately, a lot of people out there doing it for money because it's easy to play on somebody's vulnerability. So the first thing I always say whenever you go to some kind of spiritual person, and you'll often see this, I'm not saying everybody is under this category, but usually seeing the ones that you see on the side of the road with the little stand where it's like $10 tarot readings, and you come in here or something like that, or you just see like the big flashing lights that say psychic. Typically, especially with psychics, it's usually somebody who can read body language really well and stuff, but you got to worry. There can be some people that are genuine and some that are, just wanting to make some money. They prey off of vulnerability. A major red flag, I can say, that you're going to any kind of spiritual person would be that, one, they're kind of putting on like it's a show. It seems bigger, like yes, you need to spend money on advertising and marketing and stuff. But if you see them like really put on these things, their lives look really great. That's kind of a bit of a red flag there when somebody's not being honest and genuine about like, yeah, I'm the role of a shaman, but I'm also a hot mess fell apart who just cried 20 minutes ago. Like you need to see the genuine person. And a really big red flag is somebody who like will bring you in for a reading, for a psychic reading or a tarot reading or anything of that sort, and be like, there's some kind of like generational curse on you, and for another $300 I can remove it for you. Like once you start seeing things like that, it's full of shit. I mean, people are going to deceive no matter what you do. So you just you got to be open, but you also got to be smart. Do your research, see if anybody else has had experience with the spiritual person that you're going to. And there's no harm in meeting with them one time. And trust your gut, if you feel like this just isn't going to work, it doesn't really resonate, same way as you make friends with people. You think you're going to have a friendship, you're going to have a relationship. Cool. If you don't feel it's going to be good, kindly say goodbye and that's it. You don't have to cause any problems with it. But yeah, definitely the money thing is always like a big red flag. So, and I mean, I can say I own a business, but I only charge for the business to keep the lights on. Honestly, that is a horrible business practice. I don't make any money. I don't. I just make sure that the business stays afloat because yes, I'm very fortunate enough that, my husband works and I do other work on the side and stuff to where I can do that. I can run the business from the heart because it's very hard to run a business as a spiritual one that you have a hard time walking that line between what's good for the business and then what's good spiritual wise. So, I try to portray that to everybody. That's why I don't put prices on my website and stuff like that because it's per the individual, it's per the person and what they need. But if you just see somebody out there who's like, you need to do a series of things and each thing is like $300, $400, $500 and, you need it. You absolutely need it or you're going to die or somebody you love is going to, or some shit like that. That's always the red flags. Always. So talk to the person and see how much knowledge they have, what their expertise is. And if they are willing to admit that they don't know everything. If you go to somebody and they have an answer for everything, that's a problem. But if they're willing to say, okay, I can help you because I have this, and this expertise. I do not have this, but I know somebody who does. That's why I have a big community program and a big affiliate program because I have a whole bunch of people listed on my website, competing businesses. They're literally competing businesses, but I don't give a crap because if I can't help you, I know somebody who can. Like I want you to pass from one person to another. If I think that, I'm telling you have to stay with me and me only, and I'm the only one that can help you, that's a problem. That's a huge red flag. And I learned that personally, actually. That I think is my number one red flag is if somebody thinks that you need to stay with them to learn everything because they have the answers to all, that's definitely a problem with a guru as far as that goes. Sorry, that was a very, very heartfelt thing because that's still a fresh wound at the current moment.
Perfect. But for a lot of people, well, that's why I asked.
What were you gonna say, Athena?
One thing I would add to that too is, especially in the day of social media, you should look at their personal page because you want to see how this person lives. Just like Crow was talking about, if they're not walking their talk, or if they're all in chaos, and then they're going to try to give you, some advice, or whatever you went to see them for. I mean, that would to me would be a really red flag, a big red flag too. Their personal pages or their business pages are probably going to be totally different than their personal page. And from experience as well, when you go and get to know that person, you're like, you really shouldn't be doing this. I mean, they're a hot mess. And so then it made me, just kind of double think about myself. Well, gosh, what did they tell me? Was it just coming from their own ego and their own wounds? Or is this something that was generally for me? But that's what I say too. I mean, social media, Facebook stalkers are everywhere. But, that's one thing I would just add, because that's something you could easily do, I think.
Yeah, and you can definitely start with that. Social media, though, is like hit or miss as well, too, because you never know. It can be deceiving. Like, people do perceive. I don't put too much on my personal page, but people can perceive my life as looking at this big, glorious thing. You don't know what's going on behind the curtain. So definitely you can start with that, see how their social media is, stuff like that. And then if you're going to connect with the person, just talk. Just talk to them. It's something so simple that people just don't do nowadays.
Yeah, for real.
I'm not even gonna lie. Like, my personal social media is purposefully deceiving. Like, I don't want interaction, so I post random dumb shit that the average, mental capacity of a 16 and up would be like, this guy's mildly retarded. Like, okay, cool. Go somewhere else. Me and my friends will have a chuckle. Like, I don't look for that sort of semi-validation that some people, like, say, in that professional setting may want, like all that woo-woo, all that basically that voodoo. Everybody likes to make it look voodoo and such like that. I can read palms, I can tell futures, I can do all this wild stuff. I think the more advertisement that they have, from what I've seen, is the more bullshit they typically are. The down-to-earth people, like, you don't want that recognition. Crow is like one of the people that you'd see walking down the street, you wouldn't know. But at the same time, if you went and seen her, the soul speaks loud enough. I could say the same thing about Radhas, Nathaniel, Thor, and yourself. Like, everybody here, or at least amongst this group, is just down to earth. Like, we're not trying to be this big showboat type of people. And in doing so, I guess the self shines brighter. So, just my take on the whole situation.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because, like, all the people that are, my affiliates, like, there's one psychic in this world that I trust. There's one palm reader in this world. Like, I've been through a bunch of them. They're that type of people. They're not just advertising all over the place, not spending all that money, all that kind of stuff. They're just kind of seeing what clientele comes to you. And yeah, exactly. Like, the soul shines through when it's needed. That light will shine through. That's the whole point why I work with a lot of things that are darker. It's also why I really love all the Norse stuff. It's darker because in that darkness, that's how you really see light. It's a lot of things are by design. Even just my tattoo, it's on the inside of my arm for a reason. You don't see it from the outside when you really see me walking around. When you get to know me, when you converse with me, my arms are out. I'm speaking with you. You get to see it because this is my entire shamanic thing all here. This is here. And all of my shamanic path.
To be seen by those you let close to you.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And you just talk. That's how you get to start to sing.
Well, I wanted to ask you this really quick because once I
Yeah,
get to
I gotta go soon.
once I get to a point where I feel sufficient in being able to offer assistance to people through herbalism, spirituality, and all these other things, my whole thing is like, I don't want money to be a part of it. I want to go super cave dweller type guy where it's just like, well, what can you offer from your land to me? If you don't have anything from your land, what can you make yourself that's meaningful? Do you tie good bows? Do you do this? Do you do that? Because it's like that whole thing of trading a paperclip up to a house, and like, that's how I want to do it when I go into it. I don't want money to be a part of it. If somebody's a butcher, They give me a couple cuts of meat for some clarity. That's incredible. I mean, have you ever done anything like that?
Often. That's why my business doesn't do that well. Often it's trades. I do a lot of trades. Massive amount of trades, actually. So I love seeing what others can do. That's how we're growing. That's how we're really helping one another. So
My midwife is a massage therapist and as well. And she was saying this thing today when I met her. She was just like, her and her other massage therapist friend both massaged each other. And she was just like, it was so good to do it, knowing that it was cyclical and that it wasn't just for money.
yeah. I actually have a masseuse that me and my husband see. I do Reiki sessions for her and she gives me massages. So I see that. No, it's always good to do that. It's much better. It's more genuine, more of a connection to do a trade.
One thing I was going to say too is I don't think people value what they don't pay for, whether that's money or any types of trades or anything like that. So I think they would value more of what you have to offer and what they can offer you too. And I think I heard Nathaniel say this is that circle of gift giving, that kind of just keeps on going. So where can they find you if somebody, oh, sorry, Nathaniel.
Go ahead. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not important.
I was just going to say if somebody's looking for you, Crow, where can they find you?
So you can type in Google Sacred Temple Wellness. It'll pop up. I work really hard to make sure that shows up the right way. You can go on the website on sacredtemplewellness.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Yes, there's my lovely, beautiful website that my good friend Connor built. He cleaned up my hot mess of a website. Literally, he was just like, oh, good Lord. He's like, I'm going to do this just out of principle, just to fix this.
That looks like a baby crow right there.
Baby crow. That picture, actually, no, that's 2020. Actually, that was 2020. That wasn't that long ago. So, but yeah, you can find me on that's the best place. Go on Sacred Temple Wellness, or if you look up Sacred Temple Wellness on Facebook or Instagram, you'll get my my link, the link tree and stuff like that. And on there, you can actually find also on the website links to all of my affiliates. So if you go into like the team, you'll see the people that work with me directly, and then also all the affiliates, all the other people I recommend. And yeah, I got, as you can see, I'm an oversharer of a ton of information. And if you go on the website, you will see everything that goes on. And I encourage people to reach out. If you're on Facebook, you can join. I have a community group called the Crow's Nest. You can come in there and hang out. There's always some kind of crazy nonsense going on there at any given time. So, come have fun. Come hang out in the community. So, you'll get everything from all the Rolodex that my brain is, like random ideas. Any other questions, I guess, before we wrap up?
No. I got the ones I needed
All right.
answered. Cool.
Yeah, we got almost an hour and a half there. Just thank you everybody for coming on, and thank you. I hope some people can resonate. I think we have a good mix here. Like, I think anyone who's watching can resonate with one of us, and Crow has a very specific type of person that she would resonate with that I think none of the rest of us could. So thank you very much for coming on and sharing your experience and knowledge.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it being part of this lovely group here. Ooh, I went out of focus. That's fine.